¿Quieres?
This is the Lich, otherwise known as Vecna Dungeon Dragon. Vecna is the newest killer to be added into Dead by Daylight. No, not that one. This one. He was introduced in the Dungeons & Dragons chapter. A bit of a weird license to get for a horror game, but I'm all on board for it. Vecna is an interesting killer. In some instances, he feels insanely powerful, but in others, completely powerless. I still think he's pretty solid though. A lot of people have been quick to mention that he looks like a malnourished Thanos, but I honestly don't see too much of a similarity. Holy shit, it is him. Vecna is pretty much Thanos if instead of collecting the Infinity Stones, he reads books like a nerd. I'm allowed to say that because this is pretty much me in real life. But enough of that. Let's explore Vecna's power. Vecna's power is Vile Darkness, and is one of the more complicated powers, not in use, but in understanding. Vecna can choose between 4 spells which are recognizable to fans of Dungeons & Dragons. Fly, Mage Hand, Dispelling Sphere, and Charm Person. Flight of the Damned. Flight of the Damned. Using all 4 of the spells in tandem with each other can be quite overwhelming, but extremely satisfying. Every time I've hit a spell or made some sort of cool play with them, my brain increases in size slightly. Here, have a listen. It kinda hurts, but it's worth it. Let's start with the Fly spell. Fly is used mostly as a traversal tool, however, can also be beneficial in a chase. Casting Fly causes Vecna to rise off the ground and vroom pretty quickly for a couple seconds. Vecna has collision during his flight and a pretty moderate cooldown before he can swing after he lands. This means that using Fly during a chase is only beneficial to cover distance if the survivor has been holding W, or to attempt body blocking a window or pallet at the end of it. Ow, okay, ow. Okay, that's starting to hurt a little bit. Vecna can also fly over dropped pallets or windows, but doing so ends his flight directly after. This is pretty much only useful if a survivor vaults while you're already using Fly, as it's much faster than going around a wall or a tile. It's also useful for that one iridescent add-on that blocks the vault location if you fly through, acting as a mini bamboozle. This is so that the survivor can't vault back during your cooldown. Your next spell is Flight of the Damned. This is purely a chase power, and the only one that directly can damage survivors. Casting Flight of the Damned causes 5 skelly boys to appear a short distance in front of you, only to launch forwards pretty far in like a cone-like trajectory. These skelly dudes also spawn pretty high off the ground, meaning that survivors can simply crouch under this attack. However, doing so will briefly slow them down and allow you to close in and maybe get a hit. If a survivor gets hit by one of these skelly goons, you will also be shown their location for a few seconds with Killer Instinct. Keep in mind that this spell spawns the skelly lads almost instantly, so if a survivor is running you around a loop, you can spawn these on top of them through a wall and get a free hit. Oh my god. I'm gonna stop playing this killer if this keeps happening, man. Last thing to note is that these skelly fellas also have names and should be treated as individuals. From left to right, it's Gumble, Shrock, Dippy, Cloyne, and Francis. If you don't believe me, it's literally on the wiki. Oh, also, if you take that one add-on that adds another skelly guy, that's Wormo. He's not usually invited because of the incident, but you know, we make an exception sometimes. Only sometimes, Wormo. Now let's move on to Dispelling Sphere. This spell is purely information gathering, as casting it spawns a large sphere that slowly moves across the map. Survivors cannot see the sphere, and if they get caught in it, their position is revealed to you with Killer Instinct for a few seconds. On top of this, they also have their magic items temporarily disabled. I will get to those shortly, I promise. Basically, just cast your big ball move towards generators in areas of the map that you think survivors will be in whenever this is off cooldown. Or when you're looking for that one sickly bastard you want out of the game. Lastly, you have Mage Hand, one of your best spells in my opinion because it makes some survivors look like bumbling buffoons. Get astronomically fucked, you little cretin. This is also purely a chase power, as you can only cast it on dropped or standing pallets. Casting Mage Hand on a standing pallet summons a spectral hand to hold it in place, preventing survivors from dropping it for a short duration. This is extremely powerful on bigger loops or on god pallets, as the survivor won't be able to make it around another time before you can hit them. For shorter loops, use this when you're 100% sure the survivor is going to drop the pallet, and try to use it just as they pass under it so that they either get tripped up on trying to drop it, or so that you can get the hit before they make it around the loop one more time. If you cast Mage Hand on a dropped pallet, the hand will pick up the pallet back into its standing position. Use this immediately after a survivor starts to vault the pallet, and just run through it to get called harsh obscenities in the endgame chat. In some instances, using this on a god pallet is more like a double-edged sword. For one, you will most likely get the hit afterwards, but you also reset the god pallet for another survivor to use. Sometimes just eating the pallet and breaking it is more beneficial. Last thing to note is that casting Mage Hand just as a survivor drops the pallet starts the animation for the hand picking up the pallet during the drop animation, meaning that the best way to use this spell is to solely cast it right as they are about to go onto the pallet. I personally like the add-on that breaks the drop pallet after 3 seconds of casting Mage Hand, but that sacrifices the ability to get some cheeky hits. It does, however, give you the ability to just passively break pallets on your way around. Oh god, man. That hurts! Let's get into the more passive part of the power. Yes, there's more. While playing as Vecna, a handful of magical chests will spawn for the survivors to interact with. These chests are different both mechanically and visually to the regular chests that spawn, and are highlighted in a white aura to survivors. Only survivors can interact with these. Not you, you greedy fuck. These are the survivors' way to counter aspects of your power by obtaining magical items, as shown on the left side of their portraits. Interacting with a magical chest will cause a d20 to roll on screen. The higher the number, the better the item. Low rolls will cause you to get a shitty regular survivor item, but higher rolls will grant you with the good stuff. Survivors may only hold 2 magical items at a time, being 1 set of boots and 1 set of gauntlets. But there are 4 effects to choose from. These chests provide either gauntlets or boots of the Interloper, which reveals the aura of pallets that have Mage Hand cast on them, which also give you a 7% speed boost when Mage Hand is used. The Skyguard reveals the aura of Vecna whenever he uses Fly, the Archivist reveals the aura of the Dispelling Sphere, and the Nightwatch reveals the aura of the Skelly Dudes. Essentially, try to choose the 2 pertaining to the spell that you struggle going against the most, or the spell that you find most powerful. In true Dungeons & Dragons fashion, critical failures and critical successes are a thing with these chests. Rolling a 1 will turn the chest into a mimic, causing it to trap you in its jaws. You will be faced with a few consistent difficult skill checks similar to like Merciless Storm, and if you manage to hit all of them, you free yourself. Failing the skill checks, however, will injure you, and if you're injured, will put you in deep wounds. Vecna will also be notified whenever this happens by a trap icon on your portrait. If you roll a 20 while opening a chest, you will be rewarded with either the Hand of Vecna or the Eye of Vecna. These are very powerful items that will cost the survivors if they choose to attune to them. Attuning to one of the Vecna items will show you which one on their item HUD, and also cause Vecna to say some sort of menacing voice line.
Fool, you know not what you carry.
A point to remember is that if the survivors use one of these powerful items, they will be injured and will have their position revealed with Killer Instinct after the effect has been used. Using the Hand of Vecna causes a survivor that sprints into a locker to teleport to a random locker at least 10 meters away from them. This is obviously good for just getting away from Vecna in a chase. Duh. Using the Eye of Vecna will cause a survivor that rushes out of the locker to be completely invisible to Vecna for 12 seconds, hiding their aura, scratch marks, blood, and their injure noises. They also gain a 25% speed boost for that 12 seconds, with Killer Instinct revealing their position when the invisibility is done. If you're gonna use this, don't be like this guy, because I instantly got him and I'm better than everybody. Lastly, survivors who have attuned to one of the Vecna items can have a unique mini-mori performed on them on their final hook stage, causing Vecna to recover his artifact. Oh. Good lord, that was a lot. We haven't even gotten to all the other stuff yet, and my brain is really hurting from all these amazing plays I've been making. I think it's starting to burst out of my head, man. This is really hurting. Let's get through this as quickly and efficiently as possible before something bad happens. Oh, god damn it. Anyways, Vecna comes with his 3 personal perks: Languid Touch, Dark Arrogance, and Weave Attunement. These aren't the greatest perks, but do open the door to some cool synergies. Languid Touch is the least interesting of the bunch, but could be quite useful. This perk causes survivors who scare crows within 36 meters of you to become exhausted for 10 seconds. This is beneficial when chasing survivors who are running an exhaustion perk like Lithe or Balanced Landing or Dead Hard, as if you chase them around enough they will most likely be exhausted before they can use their perk. It's a little passive, so you won't know exactly when the perk works too much of the time, but it's still moderately useful. Dark Arrogance increases the duration of stuns and blinds on you by 25% for a trade-off of a permanent 25% added to your vaulting speed. This perk is a little goofy, but I can see it being a good pick on vaulting builds with like Superior Anatomy, Bamboozle, possibly Fire Up. If you're gonna take this perk, I would highly recommend you play more safe around pallets, obviously. Lastly, we have Weave Attunement, which causes survivors that deplete an item to drop it automatically. On top of this, dropped survivor items have their auras revealed to you, and any survivor that comes within 12 meters of an item has their aura revealed to you as well. Survivors that pick up an item at any point get the Oblivious status effect for 30 seconds too. This can be fun with perks like Franklin's Demise, or killer add-ons that will cause survivors to drop their items, like the one for Victor's Pounce and Legion's Frenzy. Ow! Okay, you know what? That's it. It's lore time, baby! Sorry for speeding things up so quickly. I simply fear my head is reaching maximum capacity with this whole brain thing. Shall we? Lore fact number 1. Did you know that Vecna is so powerful that he's probably the only one to have deciphered entity speak? No one here apparently can, so, you know, good job, Vec. Lore fact number 2. Did you know that Vecna is so powerful that he could have interrupted the process of being taken by the entity but chose not to in search of its dark and evil power? Damn, dude, that's nuts. Lore fact number 3. Did you know that Vecna is so powerful that he can probably pat his head and rub his stomach at the same time? Dato histórico número 4. Did you know that Vecna is voiced by Matthew Mercer? He is most commonly known for his work on Critical Role, but more recognizably his work on LEGO City Adventures. Lore fact number 5. Did you know that Vecna bears the mark of negation? That's what that little red thing is on the back of his neck. As explained by behavior, the mark is placed by the entity, and is their canon way of the entity branding certain all-powerful killers to dampen their powers and better suit the fairness of the trials. I bet Pyramid Head has got his somewhere under that big ol' head of his. Lore fact number 6, without the mark of negation, Vecna would not only be able to leave the entity's realm, but he would also probably be powerful enough to overthrow the entity. They are pretty much both gods, and we are at their will. Lore fact number 7. Did you know that on the dungeon map added with Vecna, you can find a beholder in the jail cell near the... So that's Vecna. I know a lot of people were disappointed because they wanted Stranger Things Vecna, but, you know, we don't always get what we want. However, for someone who does dabble in D&D and is currently playing through Baldur's Gate 3, this is a fucking awesome license and character. The voice acting is great, the map is beautiful, the characters are fun and memey, the license is well represented, and the killer is decently strong. For that, I'm gonna give this chapter as a whole a 10 out of 10. Sometimes Vecna can feel a tad bit clunky and easy to counter, but most of the time I've been having a blast with him either way. He feels like if you gave the jack-of-all-trades a Swiss Army knife. You know, making them a slightly stronger all-arounder. Thank you guys so much for watching this entry in the 101 series, and please remember to...